Harris's idea. Yay. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Unity on the River. I'm excited to bring Sherry Gaudette up to the mic today to solo. Go, Sherry! Today is also a little bit of an ad for our concert that we're going to be doing when the Northeast region is here on Wednesday evening, September 27th at 7:30. Hospitality, concert, music. Just come and join and be part of us. And Sherry will be singing there as well. Okay, this is Yes, Lord, Yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and my answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I'll trust you every day. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. When that Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. 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 Your love is amazing, steady and unchanging. Your love is a mountain firm beneath my feet. love is a mystery, how you gently lift me when I am surrounded. Your love carries me. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me say hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me say hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me say hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. Your love is surprising, I can feel it rising, all the joy that's growing deep inside of me. Every time I see you, all your goodness shines through. I can feel this God song rising up in me. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. Staying up? No, stay up. One. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, and everything I've lost or won, and everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to the new beginning, here and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. Turn around. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Stay standing. Thank you so much. Please stay standing. Grab the hand of the person next to you and go right into Shirley the Presence.
Let us pray. Surely the presence of the Lord is here because you are here in all your magnificent energy and splendor and open-hearted love. God is made real and visible through each and every one of you. In God we live, move, and have our being, and God lives, moves, and has its being in you, in all of us. So today we celebrate that. Today we lift our voices, we lift our spirits, we lift our energy and send out that vibration into this town, into the state, into this country, into this world. When our vibration is lifted, it lifts the entire vibration. We become the change we wish to see. We become the love that we want to experience. We become the joy and the laughter that we want to feel. And we give thanks for that today. And so it is, and so let it be. Amen. And amen. You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Ogun, Senior Minister here. So glad to see you. Glad you've recovered after the week of all the stuff we had going on here. I'll mention that more, but you look absolutely wonderful today. And as I always like to say, if we want to see the fullness, the divinity, the beauty of God, we simply need to turn to another person. So turn to someone and say, God looks good today. Indeed he does. Apparently God's all happy in the band too. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I love the laughter. I'm also loving when folks in our community step up, and I'm really thrilled. Making her debut appearance as facilitator, Carol Hayes-Cam. Give her a hand.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, what a view from up here. Look at all these wonderful smiling faces. So it's so great to be here. My name is Carol Hayes-Camp, and We've had quite a week this week at Unity on the River. We had the visit from our Tibetan monks who shared their culture and their beautiful sand mandala painting. We also had a very successful health and wellness fair, and we also had the dedication of our beautiful meditation garden. So now, here I stand. So this crazy girl has been asked to facilitate and let the God in me shine upon all of your abundance. And we are led by our one and only Reverend Ogun Holder. So how great is that? Now we know I'm going to mess up a time or two, so I just ask that you definitely laugh along beside me, and we'll just get through this together. If you see me rubbing my eyes a lot, I'm not crying. It's just lovely ragweed season, so just deal with that. So, of course, we get to share our celebration with our streamers, so I ask that everyone please turn around and give a nice wave to those who are joining us globally. Or maybe even down the street in their pajamas, drinking their coffee. We really love having your virtual presence with us here today. Next, we'd like to welcome anyone who is here for the very first time. If you would kindly raise your hand, and our ushers will come by and give you a welcome packet, as well as a flower. There is an information card in that packet, and if you would like to fill that out and hand it in to our resource center, our volunteers will be there to answer any questions you might have about Unity or our community. So also that flower that you received has very special powers. It actually gives you a 10% discount in our bookstore. So please take advantage of that. We hope this is one of many more visits to come from you, and want you to know that your presence with us truly blesses and enriches us, because we welcome all paths to God. Unity on the River is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Please hold these truths in your heart as we say together our mission and vision statements. First, our mission statement.
We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity.
And next, our vision statement.
Centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony.
Excellent. So I do have a few brief announcements. The workshop, Connection Practice Workshop by Leslie Smith, has to be postponed, but it will be rescheduled, so just look for that in the near future. There will be a training today for all facilitators for our Adventure in Faith series. The book this time is The Zen Commandments, and that's written by Dean Slider, and it is now available in our bookstore, and the list of groups will be available for us next week. That facilitation will take place today in the wing room after services. At 12 o'clock, okay, at 12. And Michael Murdag will be our guest speaker next Sunday. He will be hosting a 12 p.m. workshop called the Healing the Heart and Soul. There's also private sessions, but those are filling up quick, so if you're interested in those, please go over to our resource center and you can sign up there. There's also going to be a Tuesday evening session on September 26th at 7 p.m. where Murdad will be hosting an evening of miracles. Don't forget, there's also the men's and women's retreats coming up, and those registrations are now open, and you can sign up for those as well in the Spiritual Resource Center. And now, because they gave me a microphone, I can take a shameless plug for the gala. See, that it's very so we have our gala coming up, and the gala is our celebration that we have every year, and there are everywhere you can volunteer, either as someone working on the gala, someone who wants to give a donation of an auction item or a silent auction item, or if you want to sell tickets. So we are going to have a quick information session next Sunday in between Michael Murdad's service and his workshop. So grab a friend, come, and we'll find you something fun to do, and we'll make it a great celebration. So thanks for that. We've come to the point where we want to invite all of you to greet each other with either a handshake or a hug of love. We invite you to say, I see you, I see your beauty, I see your magnificence, I see the divine in you. Namaste, everyone.
Really happy to have Malik back. He's really a man of many talents. I fell into the shadow, then saw the light. Kindness was reaching through the maze. Some days, oh yes, I fail, and I wrap inside the thunder of a storm I create. Then I remember, I will not be free.
I got a new nickname for Malik, the Prince of Puerto Rican Percussion. Yeah. Trademark. Hi, everyone. So today I am going to wrap up the series that I've been doing. Is this thing on the Book of Joy? I think my clicker's not working, so I'm gonna have to ask you to advance slides. Technology is great when it works. So we've been studying the Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I know many of you have brought copies in the bookstore. Apparently we sold out. I think more on the way. So if you haven't picked up a copy of this yet, it's a fabulous read. It's a humbling read, but it's also a very inspirational, hopeful read that, when we look at all that's going on in the world today that could cause us, despair, sadness, angst, anger, that our response is to respond from joy. Our task is to stay grounded in joy and respond from it. And they do a really good job of articulating without sugarcoating or cutting corners. I mean, remember, these are two individuals who have firsthand witnessed and experienced all manner of oppression and violence. And yet, no one would say that they are living in a state of anger or angst. They're two joyful individuals, as highlighted by why this book came about, which was Desmond Tutu going to visit Dalai Lama for his 80th birthday, and throughout the course of dialogues, this book came into being. So if you remember, we started a couple weeks ago on the 8 pillars of joy, and those were perspective, humility, humor, acceptance. Those were like of the mind, and the ones on the right, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity, were more of the heart. We talked about forgiveness last week, and we did that Tonglen experience. You guys remember that? When we breathed in, suffering or despair for the world or someone we knew or ourselves, and then we breathed out love back into it. And some of you told me personally how profound an experience it was, how it shifted a lot of your feelings and attitudes about things. And that's really what forgiveness is. Remember, we talked about forgiveness is about releasing the desire for a different past. Releasing the desire for a different past. When we can really get to that place, that's what the process of forgiveness is. And before that, we talked about acceptance, which was about just simply not fighting the reality of what's going on in front of us, not desiring a different present moment. So forgiveness is not desiring a different past. Acceptance is not desiring a different present. A lot of it is not about desiring anything different than what's happening. Now we come to gratitude. And I've said a lot about gratitude in the past. You know a lot about it. But in this context, here gratitude is really about fully embracing the present. It's shifting from the not resisting to now embracing. Okay? Shifting from not resisting to embracing. And there's a difference between the two. Because sometimes we don't resist things, but we do so in the most curmudgeon of ways. Well, I ain't gonna resist it. I'm not gonna fight it. Not gonna fight it. It is what it is. But we just stand stubbornly. I'm not gonna resist it because it's a spiritual thing to do. And we're still a little bit pissed off about the whole thing. But we're not resisting it. We're not resisting it. Now, we got to take it a step further, though, and that's where gratitude comes in. Gratitude now is a step where we fully embrace it. We embrace it. Gratitude is about boosting and elevating the enjoyment of what's happening in front of you. And you're saying, how can I enjoy something horrible that's going on? I'm not saying be gleeful about it, but I'm saying that when you realize in that very moment what's happening, you've accepted it. So you're not desiring something different, but you realize that in that present moment, again, is that opportunity for you to exhibit joy. Then you go, all right, I'm into this. And remember, we pile on the things before. You take the big view, the wide perspective, realize it's not just affecting you, it's everyone. And it humbles you because you realize you're no different than anybody else. You're not better, nor are you worse. We're all one. Then we could take that humorous approach of, I got worked up all kind of manner about this, but when I realized it, that, you know what, this is going to be okay. What was I freaking out about in the first place? And it builds on it, and now, therefore, we no longer not just not resist, but now we can embrace. We can embrace it fully. And this is what gratitude is. There's a Benedictine monk I want to introduce you to. His name is Brother David Steinl-Rast. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but you should look him up. He's a Benedictine monk, but he's been very involved, or was very involved, rather, in a lot of interfaith dialogues with Buddhists. So he studied Buddhism extensively. And he says the root of joy is gratefulness. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratefulness that makes us happy, makes us joyful. The gratitude comes first. Usually we want to wait until there's something to be grateful for, to give thanks and feel happiness and joy. Okay? That's what we want to do. But he's saying, no, don't, be joyful. Be joyful. It is not joy that makes us grateful, it's the gratitude. Look for the things that are there to be grateful for. Realize that they will make us, that they contribute to the joyfulness, but not the other way around. Don't try to be happy first. Don't try to say, oh, I need to be happy, and then I can find something to be grateful for. When we are grateful first, that's when we find the things, because we realize, hey, what do we know about our abundance teachings? When we see the good, when we give thanks for the good, then we realize how much we do have in front of us, and it transforms us. His next quote is by far my favorite, though. He says, "Is not gratitude a passage from suspicion to trust, from proud isolation to a humble give and take, from enslavement to false independence to acceptance in that dependence which liberates?" Let's read that again. Is not gratitude a passage from suspicion to trust, from proud isolation to a humble give and take, from enslavement to false independence to self-acceptance in that dependence which liberates? So many times we don't trust what's going on around us. We go into things maybe with good intentions, but we're waiting for the other shoe to fall. We waited for things to go south, and we use what's happening in the world as evidence to support that. And a lot of times, because of that, we withdraw. We refuse to engage. Well, this is a mess, so I'm not going to get involved. And then we think we're doing ourselves a favor by standing on our own, isolated. But the truth is, that's no way to thrive. How do we thrive? Through connection with each other. And this is where gratitude gets us. It shifts us to that trust in place. It shifts us to a place of humility, where we give and take, where we realize that the true flow is when we interact with each other. It takes us to a place where we realize we are interdependent on each other. None of us can thrive on our own. We need each other. And again, being in the place of gratitude gets us there. He says, when you are grateful, you are not fearful. When you're fearful, you're not violent. And so grateful people are happy people, and happy people makes for a happy world. When we are grateful, we're not fearful. When we're not fearful, we're not violent. And I just don't mean physically violent. I mean violent in our thoughts and in our words as well. See, many of us take a measure of pride that we don't act out physical violence. But sometimes we say mean things to each other. But then many of us are proud that we don't say mean things to each other. But then we say mean things to ourselves. Or we have mean thoughts about other people. This is violence. No matter where it lands on the spectrum, these are acts of violence. When we are truly grateful for what's in front of us, what's around us, what we're in the midst of, there's no room for violent thoughts, words, or actions. This does not mean we do not become a voice for justice or become a voice for the true oneness that we want to see in front of us. But we don't do it from that place of anger again. Grateful people are happy people. So I'm going to practice some gratitude now. Usually at the end of service, we have a list of people that we thank. and we call by first name individuals who've like stepped up a little bit more during the week. We call them our angels for the week. Given all that happened this week, we had a list of angels that was over 60 people long. And I was like, we can't read all these names. That's just like 60 people. It was amazing. So I'm going to give gratitude now for some of you individually and some of you in groups. So we had our monks visit this week. If in any way, shape, or form, from housing the monks to providing a meal for the monks, providing transportation for any of the monks, if you did any of those things, raise your hand. Thank you. I want to say thank you. I especially want to thank Heather Merrill. Is Heather here today? I don't think she is. Heather Merrill and Peter, our operations director, were the two folks instrumental in organizing all of this. Even Peter at one point said, I usually like to roll my sleeves up and get in there and do it, but like he was like, it was a new task for me to really just realize it was too much and that I needed the help of others. Interdependence. And it freed him up. So I want to thank the two of them for really doing the organization of that. How many of you were involved, and I know this is mostly the prayer chaplains, but how many of you may have been involved in helping set up or even set up for World Day of Prayer on Wednesday night and Thursday night, or were involved in that? How many of you did help with that? Thank you. I want to especially thank Rena and Tom. Tom's not here today, but Rena's here, who are the co-leads of our prayer chaplain team that helped pull this together. We had, I believe, was the best attended, or one of the best, if not the best attended, World Day of Prayer openings Wednesday night. There were almost 120 people here. We ran out of chair space. We had the labyrinth here if you weren't here, and we had chairs set up along the side, and we ran out of chairs, and people were sitting on the floor. It was glorious. It was pretty funny to see us all try to navigate the labyrinth together, bumping into each other. There were a couple of people who were walking in and realized all of a sudden they were on their way out and never made it to the center because they got a little off track. I know some people may have just skipped to the end because, I was the first one in, and you walk back out, and then you light your candle and you put it in the sand bowl. So I was the first one in, so it made sense I'd be the first one to light a candle. I got to the end, there were like 5 candles in there already. I was like, wait, what just happened? So it was truly a fun, memorable evening, and it took a community to pull that together. We had our health fair on Saturday. Anyone involved in helping putting the health fair together? Yeah, we had some hands there, and Tina. This was our board president's Tina's project. She's probably home recovering after all she did yesterday. But that was another amazing day. And then we had the monks' closing ceremony and blessing the garden. And some folks helped with. We had to lay all these like pallets down to the river so we didn't get soaked in mud as we were walking down. And the monks were pouring the sand in. This whole week was about community stepping up, and I am grateful for each and every one of you. And it was so hilarious. One of my favorite moments yesterday was, people kept thanking me for making this happen. And I kept saying, I can't take any of the thanks. I'm a great ideas guy, but like fine-tune, the fine point of organization, not my strong suit. But I have so many people around me who can do that. So I kept trying to give them the thanks. And then I was speaking with, Reverend Shipley. She was there for the garden dedication. If you don't know who she is, she was the previous minister here. She's founded this place. She was the previous minister for 20 years. And she was there because we're going to name the pagoda after her. And she was thanking me. And, I'm doing my, I really got to thank the other people. And she said, no, you need to take some thanks too. What is that saying? The fish stinks from the head. And I was like, thank you, I think. She said, what I meant was, if that's the case, the reverse is also true, so give yourself, and I was like, okay, I will be the stinky head of the fish. No problem. So honest, deep, heartfelt gratitude to all of you who stepped in, and all of you who also just came to witness and participate. All the work would have been for nothing if you guys didn't show up as well. So as exhausting as this week was, as tiring as it was, I mean, Peter said to me, yeah, it's only like what, the 14th straight day that I've been here. And I was like, that's all right. We're taking a day off there next week, this week. Oh, by the way, this week, church office will be closed on Thursday. We're giving ourselves a day off because next week is the Eastern Region Conference, so that's a whole other week of stuff going on. So I'm in gratitude, true heartfelt gratitude for all of you who stepped up above and beyond this week to make this happen. And when I think of that, in spite of the fatigue, I'm walking around with a smile on my face. I'm happy, so happy. So many folks were touched by the experience of the monks being here. And it lifted the spirits of this place like nothing I've ever seen before, and it was beautiful. It was truly, truly beautiful. That's joyful. It made me joyful. And it made a lot of you joyful as well. So that's gratitude. I spent a lot of time on gratitude, but we need to sometimes. Gratitude then leads to compassion. So if we review our list again, gratitude leads into this idea of compassion. When we are in that place of gratitude and grounded in joy, then we can really find ourselves being willingly compassionate to others who are suffering. That's what compassion really means. It's a sense of concern that arises when we're confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to see the end of that suffering. When we feel motivated to see the end of another's suffering. And if we are stuck in a place of despair and despondency, there's no motivation to see their suffering end. I'm suffering, they're suffering, so it makes sense, we're all good. No. If we are in that place of joy-centeredness and we see another suffering, we want to alleviate it. We want to alleviate it. Interestingly enough, the word for suffering, the Hebrew word is rakamim. It comes from the same word that means womb, to nurture, the womb. So imagine a parent. Imagine the process of birth and pregnancy and how the fetus is protected in that womb, nurtured in that womb. And even after birth, an infant that's seemingly helpless for so many months in the first few years. That's the idea of compassion, to nurture. The Dalai Lama tells a funny story in the book. He says he was on an airplane and he saw it was like an overnight flight. It was late, and he saw this mom like working really hard to comfort these two really small, like cranky children. And he observed her, and he had to admit to himself, I don't know that I have the patience for that. This is the Dalai Lama we're talking about. And the author echoed that sentiment. He said, they're confirming what I've always believed, that it may take years of practice in a monastery to equate to the kind of spiritual practice, the spiritual shift that you get if you just spend one night out with a sick child. Parents can relate. Or when your teenager in the morning, when you get dressed to come to church, looks you in the face and goes, oh, we're going with the sweater vest again, are we? Yeah. Now, I could take that personally. I wonder, what are you trying to say? Or just stand bold and go, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Kids, man, ultimate spiritual practice. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. But I digress. But the compassion again. And what's also important is that we have compassion for ourselves. Again, the Dalai Lama said it really shocked him as he started to travel in the Western world how much lack of compassion people had for themselves. He said this is not something that people in his culture really struggled with, but he said people in the Western world were like just berating themselves and beating up on themselves, and it took him a while to figure out why, but he said it's like we put this pressure on ourselves to conform to like certain ideals or to be a certain way or to look at what's wrong with us. And he says we've got to shift that. We've got to end our own suffering that we place on ourselves. And I think we're beginning to catch on a little bit. I think we're beginning to shift. And I'm seeing that shift a lot in our modern culture when it comes to body image. When it comes to body image, we're beginning to embrace whoever we are and however we look is awesome. I started watching this reality TV show called Project Runway. Anybody watches Project Runway. Yeah, I'm not into reality TV at all, but it's my girlfriend's favorite show, and when we're in love, we do things we don't normally do. So I'm finding myself watching Project Runway. And I gotta admit, I'm a little hooked now. I'm a little hooked. Not because there's crazy drama going on in it all the time, meaningless drama, like my daughter's favorite show, which is Bachelor in Paradise, which just don't. But Project Runway is really this example of creativity. The designers are given a project and given materials, and they have to, create these fashion outfits. And how they choose to express that creativity is awesome. But the thing that supported my point here is that for the first time in Project Runway's history, and I don't know how many seasons they've been in, 9, 12, something like that, they're not using size 0 models. The models are size 2 through 22. They made a point to say, one size does not fit all. We've got to learn to embrace everyone for who they are and how they look. And these models, they're all gorgeous, and they're all different shapes and sizes. And the coaches and the judges have been really good to point out when a designer inadvertently says something against how a model looks. One of the designers would say, I'm not used to designing for someone of this size, and so we're gonna cover them up and so on and so on. And the judge was like, no. You will embrace who they are. And if they're a person who loves their curves, then you make them show off their curves. And I'm like, yes. We are shifting as a culture. We're beginning to take that pressure off of ourselves. Take that pressure of we have to look a certain way. We have to earn a certain amount. We have to have certain things. We are lifting that off of us slowly but surely and grounding ourselves in a more joy-filled experience. When we are compassionate and we help others, it leads to what we call a helper's high. I don't know if you've experienced this. It's when you feel really good for helping someone, okay? That's actually, your brain is being flooded by hormones. Oxytocin. It helps, it's what gives you that good feeling. It's the same area of the brain that lights up when you eat chocolate. I know you'd rather eat the chocolate, but in case you're watching your calorie count, go help somebody. It'll feel just as good. But it's integral to our survival. That's why the brain makes it feel good when we help each other out. There's this idea called reciprocal altruism, that when someone helps us, we remember and we help them when they're in need. Or even if they're not in need, that concept of paying it forward. When someone helps us, we remember that we were helped. And when we see someone else in need, we extend it to them as well. It's integral to our survival, not just as a species of human being, but this is how we learn to get along and be at peace. This compassion. Both the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu said this. Can I get the next quote up? We are most joyful when we focus on others, not on ourselves. Bringing joy to others is the fastest way to experience joy oneself. So if you are feeling down in any way, shape, or form, the quickest thing you can do, not a drug, not an antidepressant, go help someone. Go help someone. Whether it be your neighbor, someone in the church, go volunteer at a food shelter or a food bank or something. Go help someone. And that will shift you into that place of joyfulness. And finally, we get to generosity, which is a natural outgrowth of compassion. When we get in that place of compassion, we give. How important is generosity? Generosity is a key component of basically the world's major religions. So it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's called zakat. In Judaism, it's called tzedakah, which is actually the same word for justice. Think about that. Compassion and justice. Because if we are kind to each other, there's gonna be equality and oneness, right? Yeah. In both Buddhism and Hinduism, it's called dana. And in Christianity, we tend to call it charity. An integral piece is generosity. And it's vital, again, for our survival as a species. There was this research this compilation of research studies done. And did you know, let me make sure I get the right number, that when you volunteer, it reduces your risk of death by 24%. When you volunteer, it reduces your risk of death by 24% because, again, it's a chemical reaction. And they're actually like antibody proteins that are flooded into your system when you volunteer, when you give, and when you feel good about giving. So if you want to live longer, come help us with stuff here. Not kidding. I'm serious. It's science, people. It's science. You want to live longer? Come help. Come serve. Come give of your time. By the way, so not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we're having an amazing gathering here. It's the conference is happening, the Eastern Region Conference, and we're going to have a night here. It's traditional for the host churches to have a night at their church. And we're going to have an amazing concert that night. More in the band, and the choir is going to be here. We're going to have some guest artists. The prayer chaplains are also going to do a really touching ceremony. You want to be here for it. But we need two things from you. One, it's a dessert night. So we have a dessert social before and after. We need some of you to bring desserts. So I've just invited you into service. Remember what I said about chocolate earlier? So you bring in chocolate and you're serving. Double whammy. Okay? So bring some desserts that Wednesday night. But also bring your pocketbook. Why? Because we're going to pick up an offering, and much of that offering is going to be used for hurricane relief. Okay? Many of you have asked, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We've narrowed down a couple of organizations that are really instrumental, not just in immediate hurricane relief, but long term. I mean, if you look at the news headlines, Houston is out of the headlines already. It's out of the headlines. And there are people who are not out of the woods yet in Houston. Irma, still in the headlines a little bit, but already they're talking about the next hurricane, Jose, which is kind of like off the East Coast and might give us some weather trouble. Our attention span as a culture is so short. So I said, you know what? There's going to be people who are suffering from these hurricanes for a long time. We got to help them in the long term as well, not just immediately. So come Wednesday night, come ready to be generous and give so that we can be a community of compassion and help those who need it right now, who need it weeks from now, months from now. So we'll see you here, not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday. I mean, you can show up this Wednesday. We got stuff happening here Wednesday. We got a Wednesday night service. But following Wednesday, come be generous. I love this quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He says, "We are fundamentally good. The aberration is not the good person. The aberration is the bad person. We are made for goodness, and when we get opportunities, we mostly respond with generosity. Give the world your love, your service, your healing, but you can also give it your joy. This too is a great gift." So as we wrap up the series, this is my invitation to you. Get grounded in those 8 pillars of joy. If you don't remember what they are, get the book, but they're also online. Get grounded in those pillars of joy. And then share that joy with the world. Not only will you feel better, if you want to do it for the selfish reason of feeling better, by all means, start there. But not only because you're going to feel better, but honestly, this is how we make the world better. People often ask, how does God let these things happen? That's the wrong question. God doesn't let anything happen. God doesn't make anything happen. The answer is, how do we let the suffering continue? That's the question for us. You want to look for God's miracle? Look in the mirror. Look to each other. We are the miracle. We are the ones who get to lift everyone else up. And we do so centered in joy. Be the joy. Be the joy. Let's take this into our meditation. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes, plant both feet on the floor, empty your laps of books and purses, papers, let your hands rest on your lap and settle in. Feel that chair supporting you. Take a deep breath. Become fully present here, right now. And just become present here, present now. Not in the past, not in the future, but simply here now to yourself. First, extend that compassionate acceptance to yourself by affirming, I love myself as I am. I love myself as I am. Every step along the way of your transformation, every step along the way of what you may judge as a setback, simply say, I love myself as I am. Just breathe into that affirmation for a moment. And truly believe it as we say it to ourselves, I love myself as I am. And we extend that compassion outside of us and affirm, I love others as they are. I love others as they are. I love myself as I am. I love others as they are. So as we spend a few moments in the silence, I invite you on the in-breath to say to yourself, I love myself as I am, and on the out-breath, I love others as they are. On the in-breath, I love myself as I am, and on the out-breath, I love others as they are. Let us ground ourselves in this truth for a few moments in the silence. I love myself as I am. I love others as they are. We hold that intention for all the names in our prayer box. As it comes forward, remember that you can share your prayer concerns, your prayer requests here in this box, or call a prayer line. And for everyone here in this box, all these situations, concerns, all these people, we hold the intention that they too remember to love themselves. In the midst of whatever trials, difficulties, challenges, they remember to love themselves. Should you hold that intention for anyone else, I invite you to say their names out loud. True transformation can only begin when we love ourselves. When we love ourselves we allow the compassion that we extend to ourselves to extend towards others. This is how true connectivity and oneness and transformation comes about. So stay grounded in joy and continue to transform yourselves in the world. Namaste.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love.
Well, thank you, Reverend Ogun, for those ever-inspiring words. It's always great to be reminded that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. It all starts with joy. I would like to take this time to recognize the beautiful souls as our prayer chaplains. Please rise if you are able. You will find these wonderful people in the corners of our room. It would be great if you could join them to meet with them for a prayer of gratitude, strength, or simply just to sit in silence. After services today, they will certainly hold your prayers and your intentions in the strictest of confidence, and they are ready to serve and inspire. We also extend this to our home and hospital prayer chaplains. This program is available upon request to travel, visit, and pray with those in the hospital or recovering or recuperating. Please see Reverend Annie or anyone from the team. Is anyone here today? Thank you, Nancy. So they'll be, and thank you. They will also be here to answer any of your questions after services today. Remember, you could also submit your prayers requests in the prayer box, which is located in the back of the room. And Unity in the River now has a dedicated phone line that takes prayer requests as well. The prayer team and Silent Unity will pray over your request. It's now time in our service that we prepare our tithes and offerings. Let's hold them in our hands and breathe into them our energy of abundance as we say together our generous affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
While we collect our offering, if you are going to bring desserts for the that week that we're having the conference, 2 Wednesdays from now, please do sign up in the Spiritual Resource Center, that counter in the bookstore, so we really have an idea of what's going to show up. Of course, if you didn't sign up and you just want to show up with some, we will gladly say yes. But sign up ahead of time will really help with our organization. I also want to throw a special invitation to the men to sign up for our men's retreat. That'll be October 13th through 15th. We are roughing it a little bit more. We're going to be at the YMCA camp I think it's in Kingston. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have opportunities for service as well. When we're there, we actually help them build things that they use later with kids who come to the camp. It's a fun time, guys, and you can sign up either there in the Spiritual Resource Center or online. The online portal for signups is ready as well. So I know since the last men's retreat, there's some new gentlemen who are coming to our church. I hope to see you there. I will be there. Me and my 3 sleeping bags stuffed in each other because it's later this year. It's in October. There's no heat in those rustic cabins. It will be chilly, so I don't like the chill. So 3 sleeping bags this time around. But I invite all you to be there. I invite you to come and have fun, commune. Also, if you haven't signed up for the women's retreat, please do that as well. I saw Monica. Monica's here. Monica will be out in the Spiritual Resource Center because that's fast approaching as well. That's the first weekend in October, I believe. 6th, 7th, and 8th. So not the Sunday's the first. So the first full weekend. And I understand that's going to be a much more luxurious accommodations. Beautiful. Yes, it's like a beautiful retreat center. See Monica if you want more information about that. Let's give thanks for our offering today. So I invite you all to go within your hearts to that place of gratitude and generosity as we give thanks for these gifts. Whether you've given here today, whether you're online and you gave on our website, or you tithe during our Absolute Abundance class, however you've chosen to share of your generosity and be in the flow of abundance, we are grateful. And in true spiritual practice, we tithe on these and we give back a percentage into the community and into the unity movement. And in so doing, we continue the flow of abundance that we are. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
So as we've heard, it takes so many people to make our programs and our Sunday service happen. So we thank all of you that do sacred service. And we've mentioned many of these angels already, but because there's so many, we want to again recognize you. We want to recognize those who hosted the Tibetan monks in their homes, as well as all the volunteers who supported the monks this week. We also want to recognize the angels that are our prayer chaplain team, who created World Day of Prayer. And we also want to graciously thank those who volunteered their time at the 3rd annual Holistic Health and Wellness Fair yesterday. So those are our angels for this week, but there are so many more. We also want to recognize our teams. Today's teams that we are recognizing are the youth and family volunteers, our bookstore team, and our office volunteers. And then, of course, we want to recognize our board members. So if you're here, if you could please stand. Our board members are also available to answer any questions that you may have and to chat with you after services. So we thank you all for serving. And now I'm going to turn it over to Brian Dozer and the music team to bring us home with Raise Your Voice.
Oh no. There'll be something.
You need an iPad.
I do. I need an iPad. Anyone want
After we get the soundboard.
an iPad? Little division. After the soundboard, yeah. We have priorities. Heart to heart, hand in hand, one in love. Here we stand, oh, God in you, God in me, God in everything that we see. First your Father's kingdom, and your good will come to you. Oh, seek ye first the Father's kingdom, and your good will come to you. With all your heart, all your mind, and all your worries far behind. Oh, trust your soul, or it may lead. Love will satisfy all your needs. Oh, lift your head up, lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God. Oh, lift your head up, lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God. Again. Lift your head up, lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God. Lift your head up, lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God.
Thank you, Brian. Let's stay standing as we welcome in our youth and family ministry, Walking in the Light.
We are walking Namaste. So today we actually had our very own mandala closing ceremony. So we went and we closed the mandala that we did as together, and they all got their sand too. We went over to the river. We threw some in the river. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. They all helped destroy the mandala, and it was beautiful. And there's going to probably be pictures on Facebook coming up, so it was really awesome. Thanks, guys.
Hi. I just wanted to get everybody excited that we started the youth to fill out their forms to go to rally again for the fall. We're all so excited and holding that in the spirit.
Thank you. So if you don't know what that is, our teens, or Youth of Unity, or teenagers or high school age kids, they travel together to do all the way to Maryland in a van to basically gather with other Unity teenagers from around the region as far north as Maine, as far south as Virginia. It's a wonderful experience that transformed them. Joy loves going every year, and so does Becca, apparently.
I used to go when I was young.
Yeah, she used to go when she was younger. Anyways, by the way, and thank you all, those of you who participated in our community mandala. If you went to see the mandala, over to the side, we had this table where you could practice doing the sand yourself. And it was truly amazing how it turned out. So like Wednesday was there, and I'm like, yeah, we are not nearly as good as these monks. But by yesterday, it was beautiful. It came together so well, and I was so proud of everyone, even some kids who participated in that. So I'm going to invite you to stand, take the hand of your neighbor, affirm for these children and for ourselves and for the whole world that there is peace, and it does begin with us. Who's saying?
The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are richly blessed.
Go be the joy this week.
Lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God. Oh, lift your head up, lift your heart up, raise your voice in praise of God. Keep it. Raise your voice in praise of God. Oh, lift your head up, lift your heart up. Raise your voice in
heaven.